and welcome to this edition of CityCast. I am Puran Chaudhary.
And I'm Queenie Rich, and here are the headlines. No government-run dementia centres in India.
Lack of awareness on cervical cancer vaccine.
Income of dhobis wash away.
Bengaluru sees four-fold increase in cybercrimes.
There are nearly 4 million of patients in India, but no government-led dementia care centres. Our reporter Amna talked to caregivers to understand the struggle.
India needs government-run dementia centres for the elderly, as those suffering from it are either abandoned or sent to old age homes. This can increase their suffering due to the lack of care. Apart from the physical and emotional distress, families of dementia patients also witness economic distress. The treatment at private centres costs around 50,000 to 1 lakhs per month.
मेरी मम्मा डिमेंशिया पेशेंट है और 2012 में उनका ऑपरेशन हुआ था ब्रेन का 1 लाख के करीब खर्चा आ गया था और अब भी उनको 24 आवर्स हमें देखना पड़ता है.
WHO says there are 50 million dementia patients in the world and 4 million patients in India. National Institute of Medical Health and Neuroscience in Bangalore is going to have the first government centre for dementia patients in India.
No exclusive center for dementia care. They need 24/7 care they need. We have to ensure that they're taken care of so far the behavior is concerned. Yeah, in our case, a residential care will cost you approximately about 60,000 rupees per month.
Dementia patients have difficulty in performing daily activities like remembering names, socializing. However, the absence of government-run dementia centers in India is making it difficult for families to afford the cost. This is Amna Karimi reporting for the CityCast.
While COVID vaccination is underway, here is another important life-saving vaccine that needs our attention. Our reporter Kanishka Kohli will tell us more.
The report by Human Papilloma Virus Center of India says there are nearly 96,000 cases of cervical cancer in the country, out of which more than 60,000 people died. This can be prevented with a vaccine, but most women are not aware about the vaccine itself.
No, I have no idea about the HPV vaccine. I heard of the name cervical campus, but then I have no idea about that, but I've heard of it.
A study by Clinical Epidemiology and Global Health on Karnataka says only 3.8% of women are aware about HPV vaccine. Gynecologist Shobha Venkat says the vaccine cost varies around 2,000 to 3,000 rupees and should ideally be given before initial sexual activity. The National Family Health Survey report for Bangalore states only 0.2% of women get screened for cervical cancer. Oncologists recommend regular PEP test while the vaccine work against cervical cancer.
Efficacy wise, no. It is known to prevent almost 99 to 100% of HPV infection if given before the exposure.
The vaccine is still listed as optional, therefore it is not the part of Karnataka state immunization program. Non-governmental organizations say the involvement of the government is important for creating awareness as well as for the distribution of the vaccine.
The government should initiate this program like every other vaccines. Give it to all the children before they are 13, 14.
Experts say lack of public awareness for HPV vaccine can be addressed by educational campaigns. This is Kanishka Kohli for CityCast.
Dumping of chewing gums is a sticky problem in the city. Let's go over to our reporter Puran to understand why is this a problem.
Chewing gum is not biodegradable, yet it is dumped both with wet and dry waste. This confusion adds to the problem while segregating waste.
Again, it comes economy. If it does not have any economical value, if you want to remove the used chewing gum from the other material, what value does it have?
The Karnataka State Pollution Board that regulates all kind of pollution has no guidelines or rule for disposal of gums. Bangalore city alone produces around 2,500 tons of unsegregated waste every day. Many people stick their used gum on street walls, on trees and even under the tables as a disposable method.
Yeah, I throw it in the dustbin. I don't really know how to dispose them.
Gums are made of synthetic plastic that eventually converts to microplastic. Organizations working in this field say there should be awareness from authorities and people.
Chewing gum, as it contains body fluids, it has to be kept separately and it should go to red bins. So anything that goes to red bins gets incinerated at last.
Even as the chewing gum business in India is rapidly increasing, the government is yet to categorize this waste and find sustainable ways to decompose it. This is reporter Puran Chaudhary for CityCast. We will be back after a short break with more stories. Stay tuned with us. Welcome back. The profits of dhobis in Bengaluru have been washed away with the pandemic. Our reporter Sejal Seth will tell us more about it.
Dhobis in the dhobi carts of Bangalore are struggling to make ends meet. The people who used to earn ₹1,000 a day hardly get ₹200 due to depletion in their orders by 75%.
ಕೆಲಸ ತುಂಬ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಮೊದಲು ಕೆಲಸ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಇವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟಂದರೆ ಒಂದು 70% ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಕೆಲಸ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸಮ್ಮರಲ್ಲಂತೂ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ.
Due to decrease in their orders, 60% dhobis have left the job. The losses are so huge that the dhobis are struggling to send their children to schools.
इन माँ बाप को पैसे के लिए मुश्किल हो गया और हमारा काम भी नहीं, कपड़ा धोने का काम भी नहीं मिला, उसके लिए इनको स्कूल को भेजने भी मुश्किल हो रहा.
It's a vicious cycle. The dry cleaner that gave orders to the dhobis face shortage of orders as taxi and cab drivers who provided them with work are themselves struggling. Prakash, who used to give his clothes to dry clean but has since stopped doing so, asks, the ones who don't have money to fulfill their own basic necessities, how will they pay money for getting their clothes washed?
पूरा कम हो गया ये 100% में 75% कम का टैक्सी वालों का सब कुछ सभी बाहर नहीं आता ना, क्योंकि घर पर रहता ना, उसलिए कपड़ा नहीं देता ना.
The 5,000 rupees that the BBMP had to provide the dhobis who have BPL card as a part of the lockdown package hasn't reached everyone. The dhobis are really apprehensive. Let's see what the future holds for them. This is Sejal Seth signing off for CityCast.
App-based cab drivers in Bangalore are struggling to run this household. Our reporter Sanchita tells us more.
Ola and Uber drivers struggle to make ends meet amid rising fuel prices. Initially, the drivers were earning a profit of 15 rupees per kilometre, which has now come down to 10 rupees per kilometre, as petrol and diesel prices have gone up by 7%. The Karnataka government revised rates of non-app-based cabs recently. The fare was hiked by 20%. The state government, however, did not allow app-based services like Ola and Uber to increase their fares. Another Ola auto driver says he's losing 150 rupees to 200 rupees per day due to the rise in petrol and diesel prices.
घर जलाने में बहुत तकलीफ होती है और बच्चों को स्कूल पढ़ाने में बहुत तकलीफ होती है.
The Karnataka Transport Commissioner Officer says that if they allow Ola and Uber to hike their fares, then it will not be affordable for the commuters.
We've sent a proposal to the state government to look into the fares of the app-based cabs. However, as of now, there is no permission to impose surge pricing.
The Karnataka Cab and Auto Drivers Association say that 30% of Ola and Uber drivers have quit as their vehicles were seized due to non-repayment of loans. Ola and Uber take 30 to 40% of commission out of the fare, thus eating into the profit of the drivers. Ola has, however, declined to comment on the same. Experts say that one way to deal with this is by reducing the commission.
They need to raise the price of the fares, otherwise they need to reduce the petrol.
The association says that it is important that the government steps in and helps the drivers by giving them some extra funds. Till then, the drivers continue to struggle to meet their basic expenses as fuel prices continue to rise. This is Sanchita Mitra for CityCast.
Bengaluru continues to lead in cybercrime across the country. Our reporter Atika Rana tells us why.
From 2017 to 2019, the digital capital of the country has witnessed a fourfold increase in the number of cybercrime cases. There were more than 10,000 cybercrimes reported in 2019.
I've been a victim of OTP fraud during the lockdown where I lost around 50k. As a generation, we are very vulnerable to cybercrime because we use a lot of social media.
Cybercrimes include lottery scams, job, matrimonial, OTP frauds, sexual harassment online, and cryptocurrency frauds. The Bengaluru Cyber Police Department said that fraud pertaining to money, personal revenge and sexual exploitation are the most common motives of criminals. According to NCRB data, over 60% of the cybercrime cases are disposed of by the police in India. The officials say that solving such cases is more difficult because the criminals are anonymous behind the screen. Around 30 personnel from Police Cybercrime Department underwent cybercrime training in March 2020 from International Institute of Information Technology in Bangalore.
Nowadays,
it is important that everybody needs to think that you are being compromised, and so that you can take necessary steps which should be on a preventive way. You're not so much careless that anybody can ping you on your social media and you explain all the details.
A few preventive measures to be wary of cyber crimes include not sharing OTPs, logging out of email accounts from shared computers, being aware of fraud calls, and setting up strong passwords. This is reporter Ratika Rana signing off for CityCast.
That's all for today. For more stories, log in to www.citycast.in.
Thank you.